When you open your mouth to speak English, sometimes your heart beats faster. You worry about making mistakes, about being laughed at, about not sounding perfect. But let me tell you something powerful. Perfection is not the goal. Communication is. Nobody in this world started speaking a second language without mistakes. Every single person who speaks English fluently today once struggled, once felt nervous, once worried about being judged. The truth is, fear is the biggest wall standing between you and the life you dream of. You think the world is watching your grammar, your accent, your small errors, but in reality, people admire your courage. They respect you because you dare to step out of your comfort zone. Every time you try, even if your English is broken, you are one step closer to becoming the person you want to be. Imagine the doors that open when you stop letting fear control you. Better opportunities, stronger confidence, the ability to connect with people around the globe. English is not just a language, it is a bridge to new possibilities, to dreams that may feel far, but are actually within your reach. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because it will never come. Don't wait until you feel ready, because readiness is born in the act of doing. Start now. Speak now. Make mistakes proudly, because mistakes are proof that you are growing. Remember this, the only failure is silence. One day, you will look back and laugh at the fear that once held you back. You will realize that the moment you decided to speak without fear was the moment your life began to change. Be brave, be bold, and let your voice be heard. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be real, and the real you has so much power. When most people think about speaking English, their first thought is, I have to sound perfect. They want flawless grammar, the right vocabulary, a smooth accent, and every single word in the exact order. And because of this belief, they stay silent. They wait. They keep practicing in private, but never have the courage to use their voice in public. But here's the truth that so many learners miss. Perfection is not the goal, communication is. The real power of a language is not in speaking it perfectly. It is in being able to connect, to express, to share your ideas, and to make yourself understood. Think about it. Why do you want to learn English in the first place? Is it because you want to impress people with how polished you sound? Or is it because you want to open doors to opportunities, to connect with people across the world, to travel with confidence, to learn and grow, to share your voice with the world? None of these require perfection. They require courage, effort, and the willingness to communicate. If perfection were the requirement, no one would ever succeed. Every native speaker of English makes mistakes. They forget words, they mix grammar, they stumble, they repeat themselves, they even invent new phrases and slang all the time. Perfection does not exist, not even for those born into the language. So why should you hold yourself back, waiting for something that doesn't exist? Your message, your idea, your feelings, and your story are far more important than whether your verb tense was correct or not. Imagine a situation where two people are talking. One of them speaks English flawlessly, but they have nothing meaningful to say. The other makes small mistakes, pauses to think, sometimes uses the wrong word. But their eyes are full of passion, their ideas are fresh, and they are trying with all their heart to connect. Which one do you think people will remember? It will always be the one who dared to share something real. Communication is about connection, not about perfection. This fear of making mistakes often comes from our school days. Many people learned English in a way that focused on exams, red marks, and punishment for errors. That system trained us to be afraid of speaking because we believed that mistakes equal failure. But outside the classroom, the real world doesn't work like that. In the real world, mistakes are not punishable. They are forgivable, even admirable. People see your effort and your courage. They see that you are pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. That is something to be proud of, not ashamed of. Think about children. A child never waits until they can speak perfectly before they start talking. They try, they make funny sounds, they use the wrong words, they laugh, and step by step they grow. No child has ever learned a language by staying silent until they were flawless. They learn by using the language, by falling, by trying again. So why should it be any different for you? You too must be willing to go through the process. Your mistakes are not a weakness. They are your stepping stones. The truth is, when you focus too much on perfection, you silence yourself. You stay in your head, worrying about grammar, searching for the perfect word, thinking too hard. And while you are busy searching for perfection, the moment of communication passes you by. Someone asked you a question, and instead of answering, you froze. You wanted to say something, but the fear of being imperfect held you back. That is when you lose, not because you didn't know English, but because you let fear stop you. Now imagine if you shifted your focus. Imagine if instead of chasing perfection, you chased understanding. You said to yourself, my goal is not to sound perfect. My goal is to be understood. That small change would transform the way you approach English. Suddenly, mistakes wouldn't matter so much because you know the other person understands your meaning. Suddenly, the pressure disappears because the focus is not on showing off your grammar, but on sharing your message. People don't remember your mistakes as much as you think. What they remember is your energy, your confidence, your story, and the courage you had to try. Think about conversations you've had with non-native speakers in your own language. Did you laugh at them for small errors? Did you stop listening because their sentence wasn't perfect? Of course not. You respected them for trying. You helped them if they got stuck. You admired their effort. That is exactly how people will see you. Perfection is a trap that keeps millions of people silent. But the moment you break free from that trap, the moment you stop chasing the impossible and start focusing on what really matters, communication, you begin to grow. You begin to speak more often. You begin to practice without fear. And step by step, your English becomes more natural. And the beautiful irony is this. When you stop focusing on perfection and focus on communication instead, you actually improve faster. You become fluent not by waiting until you are perfect, but by daring to speak when you are not. Fear is like a wall. It is invisible, but it feels real. It blocks you from speaking, from trying, from showing your true self. Many people say that the most difficult part of learning English is grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation, but the real difficulty lies in something deeper. It is fear. Fear of mistakes, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And this fear, more than anything else, stops people from reaching their full potential. Think about how many times you wanted to say something in English, but you stayed quiet. The words were in your mind, but your lips refused to move. Your heart beat faster, your hands maybe even shook, and your brain screamed, what if I say it wrong? What if they laugh? What if I sound stupid? That moment right there is the wall of fear. It doesn't matter how many words you know or how much grammar you studied. If fear controls you, your knowledge stays locked inside. The most painful part of this fear is that it creates regret. After the moment passes, you think to yourself, I should have spoken, I should have tried, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. And you're right, it wouldn't have been so bad, but fear convinced you otherwise. Fear exaggerates everything. It makes small mistakes feel like disasters. It makes tiny stumbles feel like failures. But the truth is, most people don't even notice the mistakes you're so afraid of. They are focused on your ideas, your message, your effort. Fear has another dangerous trick. It makes you compare yourself to others. You see someone speaking fluently, and you think, I can never be like that. You compare your beginning to someone else's middle, your journey to their destination. But what you don't see is the struggle they went through, the times they also felt nervous, the mistakes they made in the past. Nobody became confident overnight. Every speaker you admire has walked through fear. The difference is that they didn't let the wall stop them. They climbed over it. Fear also grows stronger when you keep avoiding it. Every time you stay silent, the wall becomes taller. Every time you hide your voice, the wall becomes thicker, and soon you feel trapped behind it. But here is the truth. That wall is not made of stone. It is made of thoughts. It is made of what-ifs. And once you step forward, once you dare to speak despite the fear, you realize the wall was never as strong as you thought. It starts to crumble with every word you speak. The sad reality is that many people spend years learning English but never use it because of fear. They can read books, write essays, even understand movies, but when it comes to speaking, fear shuts their mouth. This creates frustration. because deep inside, they know they are capable of more. They know their knowledge is enough, but fear is holding them hostage. Imagine the opportunities lost because of fear. Opportunities for jobs, friendships, travel, and personal growth. Fear steals more than your words. It steals your future. But here's something powerful. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage means feeling afraid but doing it anyway. The wall of fear will always be there in some form, but you don't have to let it stop you. Each time you speak, despite fear, you take a brick out of that wall. With enough attempts, the wall becomes smaller, weaker, and finally, it disappears. Think about your first time riding a bicycle. At the beginning, you were scared of falling. Maybe you did fall. Maybe you scraped your knee. But did you give up? No, you got back on. Over time, the fear faded because you practiced. And now riding a bicycle feels natural. Speaking English is the same. The first tries feel shaky, uncomfortable, scary. But with every attempt, fear loses its power. What many learners don't realize is that most people are not judging you as harshly as you imagine. In fact, they respect your effort. They admire your courage. They may even wish they had the bravery you do, because many people cannot speak a second language at all. Instead of seeing you as weak, they see you as strong. It is your fear that tells you otherwise, not reality. Fear whispers lies. You are not ready. You are not good enough. You will embarrass yourself. But the truth is, you are ready enough to start. You are good enough to try, and embarrassment only exists in your mind. Most of the time, others don't even remember your mistakes. But you remember them. You replay them. You let them haunt you. This is how fear controls you. The real secret to breaking this wall is to act before fear grows. Don't give it time to trap you. When someone asks you a question, answer. Even if you are not sure, speak. Even if your grammar feels wrong, try. Even if your accent is heavy, say the words anyway. Action is the weapon against fear. The more you act, the weaker fear becomes. Remember, fear does not disappear by waiting. It disappears by doing. The first time will be scary. The second time will be slightly easier. The third time, easier still. And slowly, what once felt like an impossible wall will turn into a small bump you can step over. When you speak English, you might think people are judging how many words you know, how smoothly you speak, or whether your grammar is correct. But the reality is, most people are not paying attention to those details. What they notice most is your courage. They notice that you dared to open your mouth even when you were unsure. They notice that you chose to step out of your comfort zone instead of staying silent. And that simple act of bravery earns more respect than flawless fluency ever could. Think about it. Fluency is a skill, but courage is a character. Skills can be taught, but courage comes from within. People admire courage because it is rare. Many people know English but are too afraid to use it. Many people have knowledge but hide behind silence. So when someone sees you trying, even if you stumble, they see a strength in you that many don't have. Your courage becomes more powerful than your mistakes. Imagine you are at a meeting or in a classroom. One person speaks perfect English, but they say the same things everyone already knows. Another person, with broken sentences and pauses, speaks an idea that is fresh, original, and brave. Who will be remembered? It will not be the one with polished language, but no courage. It will be the one who took the risk to share their thought, even imperfectly. This is why courage is respected more than fluency, because courage carries your message to the world. Sometimes you might feel that your accent is holding you back, that people will look down on you for sounding different. But the truth is, accents are signs of bravery. An accent shows you have learned a new language, that you are reaching across borders to connect with others. Nobody laughs at an accent. They laugh at silence when you refuse to try. In fact, many people find accents inspiring because they reveal determination and persistence. Every accent tells a story of effort, and effort is always respected. Courage is not about being fearless. It is about speaking even when fear is present. Everyone feels nervous when they try something new, but courage is choosing to act despite the fear. And when you do this, people notice. They may not remember your exact words, but they will remember your bravery. They will remember that you stood up, that you spoke, that you did not let fear control you. This respect will often open more doors than fluency alone ever could. In fact, many leaders, innovators, and successful people in the world do not speak perfect English. Their grammar is not always correct, their vocabulary is sometimes limited, but their courage to express their ideas makes them unforgettable. They are not respected because of their perfect English. They are respected because of their boldness, their passion, and their willingness to share themselves. Their courage communicates louder than their words. Think about conversations you've had with someone speaking your own language imperfectly. Maybe they mispronounced a word. Maybe their grammar wasn't right. Did you laugh at them? Probably not. You respected them for trying, and you focused on what they wanted to say, not on how perfectly they said it. This is exactly how people see you when you speak English. They don't expect you to be perfect. They expect you to be real. They expect you to show courage. The problem is, many learners believe that respect only comes with fluency. They wait until they are good enough before they allow themselves to speak. But respect doesn't wait for perfection. Respect comes the moment you dare to try. People admire you because they know how difficult it is to face fear, and yet you chose to stand tall. That kind of courage inspires others. It shows them that if you can do it, maybe they can too. Courage also has a ripple effect. When you speak up, even if imperfectly, you give permission to others to do the same. Your bravery lights a path for them. You may not realize it, but your small act of courage can change the way someone else feels about their own voice. They will think, if they can try, I can try too. This is how courage spreads. It multiplies and it inspires. Fluency alone cannot do this, but courage can. Over time, something powerful happens. The more you act with courage, the more respect you gain, not only from others, but also from yourself. You begin to see yourself differently. You no longer define yourself by your mistakes, but by your bravery. You no longer see your accent as a weakness, but as proof of your strength. This shift in mindset is what transforms you from a silent learner into a confident communicator. Remember, fluency is a goal you can achieve with practice, but courage is a choice you can make right now. And people will always value the person who chooses to be brave over the person who hides in silence. You don't have to wait until you are fluent to be respected. Respect begins the moment you stand up and say, I will not let fear silence me anymore. English is not just a language, it is a bridge that connects you to people, to knowledge, to cultures, and to opportunities that would otherwise remain far out of reach. When you learn to speak English, you are not simply memorizing words, you are unlocking doors that lead to a bigger, wider world. And the amazing thing is, those doors are already waiting for you. All you need is the courage to cross the bridge. Think for a moment about how much of the world communicates in English. International business meetings, scientific discoveries, movies, books, global travel, conferences, all of these are often centered around English. It has become the common ground, the meeting point where people from different countries can share their ideas. If you can walk onto that bridge, suddenly you are no longer limited by borders. You can connect with someone from another continent, understand their perspective, share your own story, and build something meaningful together. Without English, your world might feel smaller. Opportunities come, but they slip through your fingers because you can't fully express yourself. A better job is offered, but the interview requires English, and fear makes you step back. A new friend speaks another language, but you hesitate to connect because you can't find the words. These moments hurt, not because you are not intelligent or talented, but because the bridge of English is still under construction for you. Once you finish building it, once you dare to cross it, those opportunities will no longer pass you by. Imagine being in a room where ideas are being exchanged, but you cannot participate. You understand some words, you catch some sentences, but you can't jump into the conversation. It feels like standing outside a door, hearing the music, but not being able to dance. That's what life feels like when you let language hold you back. But once you start speaking, even imperfectly, you step into the room. You don't just listen, you take part. You dance, you share, and suddenly you are not an outsider anymore. You belong. English can be a bridge to career opportunities. In many parts of the world, jobs that require English pay better, offer more growth, and connect you to international markets. Employers are not looking for perfect grammar, They are looking for someone who can communicate, someone who can collaborate with people across borders, and that could be you. By crossing the bridge, you place yourself in front of opportunities that were invisible before. It can also be a bridge to knowledge. The majority of books, research papers, and online resources are written in English. When you understand the language, the world's information becomes available to you. You no longer have to wait for translations or summaries. You can learn directly at the source. Imagine the power of being able to read, to listen, to study anything you want without barriers. Knowledge is opportunity, and English is the key that unlocks it. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this bridge is connection. English allows you to meet people from every corner of the globe. It allows you to make friends who think differently, who see the world through another lens, who can teach you things you would never have discovered on your own. Every conversation in English is a chance to build a relationship, a chance to exchange ideas, a chance to grow as a human being. Without this bridge, you remain in your own small island. With it, the whole world becomes your home. Some people think learning English is just about passing exams or improving resumes, but it is so much more than that. It is about freedom. The freedom to travel without fear, to talk to anyone you meet, to follow your dreams without language holding you back. It is about confidence, the confidence to raise your hand in a classroom, to share your opinion in a meeting, to walk into an interview knowing you can express yourself. It is about possibilities, the possibility of studying abroad, of starting a business, of telling your story to the world. And here's the truth, you don't need to be perfect to cross this bridge. Even broken English can carry you across. Even simple words can connect you to another human being. What matters is that you try, that you dare to step onto the bridge instead of waiting on the side. Every time you use English, you are building the bridge stronger, making it easier for yourself and for those who come after you. The bridge of English does not erase who you are. You do not have to give up your identity, your culture, or your native language. In fact, it makes you richer. It gives you two voices instead of one, two perspectives instead of one, two worlds instead of one. You don't lose yourself, you expand yourself. Every great opportunity in life begins with communication. The job you dream of, the people you admire, the lessons you want to learn, all of them require you to take that first step onto the bridge. And once you do, you will realize the bridge was never as far as you thought. It has always been waiting, just a few steps away. Mistakes are often seen as something to be ashamed of. From school days, we were trained to avoid them, punished for making them, and taught to believe that they were signs of weakness. But in reality, mistakes are not the end of progress. They are the evidence of it. Every mistake you make while speaking English is proof that you are learning, that you are trying, that you are moving forward. Mistakes are not the opposite of success. They are a part of success. Think about how you learned to walk as a child. Did you take perfect steps from the very beginning? Of course not. You stumbled, you fell, you cried, and then you tried again. Every fall was not failure, it was practice. Each time you stood back up, you became stronger, more balanced, more confident. Without those falls, you would never have learned to walk. In the same way, every mistake you make in English is a step toward fluency. Each error teaches you something new, strengthens your confidence, and brings you closer to your goal. The problem is not mistakes themselves, it is how you see them. If you see mistakes as signs of stupidity or weakness, you will avoid speaking altogether. You will stay silent, waiting for a day when you can speak perfectly. But that day never comes, because perfection is not how languages are learned. If you see mistakes as teachers, as stepping stones, then every wrong word, every broken sentence, every mispronunciation becomes valuable. You stop fearing mistakes and start using them. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who never made mistakes, but the ones who made the most mistakes and learned from them. They dared to try, to fail, to look foolish for a moment, because they knew that behind each mistake was progress. Language learning is no different. If you want to grow, you must be willing to look imperfect, to sound awkward, to say something wrong. That is not weakness, that is bravery. Think of a baby learning to talk. They don't wait until they have the perfect vocabulary or grammar. They just start making sounds, forming words, putting together sentences. They make hundreds of mistakes every day, but nobody tells them to stop. Instead, everyone encourages them, celebrates their effort, and patiently helps them improve. Why should it be any different for you? Just like that child, your mistakes are the signs that you are on the right path. Sometimes, when you speak English and someone corrects you, it feels embarrassing. You think, I should have known this, I shouldn't have made that mistake. But what if you flipped that thought around? What if you said, now I know what I didn't know before, now I've learned something new? A correction is not an insult, it is a gift. Every correction is proof that you are stretching your mind, expanding your ability, and growing. Mistakes also make you memorable. Imagine sitting in a group where everyone speaks perfectly. It might sound impressive, but it also feels lifeless, without struggle or humanity. Now imagine someone who is learning, who makes a few errors, but who speaks with heart, with passion, with determination. That person inspires others. Their courage shines through their mistakes. People don't admire perfection, they admire persistence. And persistence is born through mistakes. One of the greatest dangers in learning English is staying silent because you fear mistakes. Silence feels safe, but it is actually the biggest mistake of all. When you stay silent, you learn nothing, you practice nothing, you grow nowhere. Mistakes, on the other hand, push you forward. Silence keeps you stuck. Mistakes move you ahead. If you want to improve, you must choose progress over pride. You must be willing to look imperfect today so that you can be stronger tomorrow. Another powerful truth is that mistakes create stories. The first time you mispronounce a word and everyone laughs kindly, it becomes a memory you never forget. That memory helps you remember the correct pronunciation forever. The wrong word you once used in a conversation becomes the reason you'll never forget the right word again. Mistakes leave marks in your mind, and those marks guide your growth. Without mistakes, there are no lessons that stick deeply. Even in the professional world, mistakes are not always failures. Employers and colleagues respect effort. They know learning a language is hard, and when they see you trying, even imperfectly, they admire you. They don't expect you to be flawless. They expect you to be brave. And every mistake you make in front of them shows your commitment, your willingness to grow, your determination not to give up. Think about it like this. If your English today is full of mistakes, it means you are alive in the learning process. It means you are moving, not standing still. Every broken sentence is proof that you are stronger than fear, that you are choosing growth over comfort. And step by step, those mistakes will shape you into the speaker you want to become. Mistakes are not barriers. They are bridges. They don't close doors. They open them. They don't define your limits. They expand them. Every mistake you make in English is evidence that you are building yourself into someone greater, someone braver, someone more confident than you were yesterday. Confidence is one of those qualities everyone wants, but very few truly understand. People look at confident speakers and think they were born that way. They are naturally brave. They just have something I don't. But the truth is, confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build, and the way you build it is through action. Confidence does not come from sitting silently and waiting until you feel ready. It grows only when you step forward, when you try, when you act despite fear. Think about the first time you tried anything new in life, riding a bicycle, swimming, driving, even your first day at school. Did you feel confident before you started? No, you felt nervous, maybe even terrified, but you still acted, you still tried, and with every attempt, your fear got smaller and your confidence grew stronger. Speaking English works the exact same way. You cannot think your way into confidence. You cannot study your way into confidence. You build it only by using your voice. Many learners make the mistake of waiting for confidence before they start speaking. They tell themselves, I'll practice more first. I'll wait until my grammar is better. I'll wait until I feel ready. But readiness doesn't come before action. It comes after. The very act of speaking, even when you feel shaky, is what creates the readiness you are waiting for. Confidence is the reward of action, not the requirement. Imagine standing at the edge of a swimming pool, afraid to jump in. You tell yourself, once I feel confident, I'll dive. But you never feel confident while standing on the edge. You only feel confident after you take the leap, after you splash into the water, after you realize you can float. The same principle applies to English. You will never feel confident by staying silent. You will only feel confident after you speak, after you realize you survived, after you see that people understood you. The more you act, the stronger your confidence becomes. The first time you speak English in public, your hands might shake, your voice might tremble, your mind might race, but you survive. The second time, you feel a little steadier. The third time, steadier still. And before long, something amazing happens. You start to feel natural. The fear that once held you hostage shrinks because action has replaced it with experience. Confidence is simply fear that has been practiced away. Another important truth is that confidence grows faster than you imagine. You might think it will take years before you feel comfortable speaking English, but that is not true. Confidence can begin in small actions, saying hello to a stranger, asking for directions, ordering food in English. Each tiny action is like planting a seed. At first, it feels small and insignificant, but as you keep planting, your garden of confidence grows. Soon you realize you are not the same person anymore. You are someone who dares, someone who speaks, someone who acts. It's also important to remember that confidence is not about speaking without mistakes. Confidence is about speaking without fear of mistakes. People respect you not because you are flawless, but because you are fearless. And fearlessness only comes from practice. Every time you open your mouth, even with broken English, you are proving to yourself that you are stronger than silence. You are telling yourself, I can do this. I don't need to hide anymore. Confidence also comes from collecting small victories. The first time someone understands your question, you feel proud. The first time you tell a story and people laugh, you feel alive. The first time you give your opinion in English and others nod in agreement, you feel powerful. These small victories add up. They stack on top of one another until one day you realize you have built a mountain of confidence. And that mountain was built not by waiting, but by acting. You see, confidence is like a muscle. If you never use it, it remains weak. If you train it through action, it becomes strong. And just like muscles, the more you use it, the easier it becomes. At first, lifting the weight feels impossible, but the more you train, the lighter it feels. Speaking English feels heavy at the beginning, but every conversation is a repetition. Every attempt is training, and eventually the weight that once felt crushing will feel light in your hands. Don't forget, confidence is not built in private, it is built in public. You can practice alone, you can memorize vocabulary, you can rehearse sentences, but none of that gives you real confidence until you use it with people. Real confidence comes from the experience of speaking, being heard, making mistakes, and still moving forward. Hiding will not give you confidence, exposure will. The irony is that people who wait for confidence before they act never get it. But people who act, even with no confidence at all, discover that it grows naturally through the act of doing. Confidence rewards the brave, not the silent. It belongs to those who dare, not to those who wait. And here's something powerful. The moment you stop chasing confidence and simply start taking action, you will find that confidence was chasing you all along. Every word you speak is a step closer. Every conversation you have is another brick in the foundation. And soon, the same person who once said, I'm too afraid to speak, will be the one others look at and say, wow, they are so confident. So now the choice is in your hands. You can let fear, doubt, and silence control you, or you can rise above them and use your voice. Remember, perfection is not the goal, communication is. Fear is only a wall, and walls can be broken. Courage will always be respected more than flawless fluency, and every word you speak builds a bridge to new opportunities. Mistakes are not failures, they are proof that you are growing, and with every action you take, your confidence will rise higher and higher. Don't wait for tomorrow, don't wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is the one you create right now. Speak, try, make mistakes, learn, and grow. Because the moment you stop being afraid to speak English is the moment your life truly begins to change.